What's up, fellas?
Hello.
Hey man, how's it going?
Doing well. Where are you guys at?
I'm
Well,
I'm here in Georgia.
Georgia,
and
that's
I'm in
right.
South Florida.
South Florida, all right. I'm down in Dallas. Let me get her if I can.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah,
That's
that's
better. Nice guy. Now I gotta fix my hair. Okay. All
Mhm.
right. I can turn this light off. What's the agenda here?
So let's just start. What got you started in collecting vinyls?
Oh man, that's a open-ended question to start. I like it. I've been collecting records for 20 years, man. Um, bought my first record when I was probably 15. And then never really stopped. I mean, it changed a little bit based on how much money I had because
Hmm.
records aren't records are not cheap.
No, they're not.
But yeah, I always gravitated towards the bigger format artwork. Um, I've been a graphic designer in a past life and always very attracted to art and visuals. And so the fact that a record was much bigger than a CD because I grew up in the era of the CDs, obviously. Being a kid in high school in the early '90s, so I had to cherry pick which albums were really important to me, which ones I wanted to spend even more money on because even CDs weren't cheap then. But yeah, it's anchored in the music. I've always been a huge music guy, obviously, but the physical format of vinyl is just something that's always been around. And even as streaming has become so predominant, I stream music all the time. But if I'm in this room that you're looking at, I'm
Yeah,
I'm I'm, I'm spinning a record. And luckily, I work from home, and I have worked from home for the better part of 20 years. So I spend a lot of records because I'm around them and I have access to them. So
that's pretty cool. And how many do you have?
in this room, there's probably about 3,000. I've got about, I don't know, 2,500 of them logged in Discogs, cataloged, and then
Jeez.
and yeah, there's probably I don't quite have all my R&B and my country and my jazz logged, but most of my rock stuff, which is that wall over there, that's all cataloged.
And what is your most expensive record?
Most expensive record, um, man, there's a couple of them. This record right here, which is a Tom Petty album from 1994. This is a really valuable record. This is Tom Petty's Wildflowers from 1994. And it was actually repressed recently in the last 2-3 years,
Yeah.
which is cool. But prior to that, you had to have this one that I bought in 1994. It's probably a $400 or $500 record. I don't know,
Jeez.
something like that. Great condition.
Wow,
But yeah,
that's crazy.
I,
And can I ask you, what is your do you have like a favorite vinyl that you listen to the most? Or
oh man. No, the answer to that is no. I don't have a singular favorite. That's a hard question. I mean, I could pick hundreds of favorites out. Usually the favorites are based on timing, meaning stuff I've gotten recently. So, if it's something I've gotten in that I'm excited about, it may stay in rotation and I'll play it continually for sometimes months before I end up shelving it. Not that it's lost then, but this, gets less attention then because then you gotta like discover it amongst your wall one night. You're like,
Yeah.
oh, I forgot,
yeah,
I forgot I got that a few months ago, and I played it a ton then, but eventually, you got more new records coming in, so you kind of gotta shelve things and then discover them at a later date. But no, it's hard to pick a singular favorite. Would be impossible.
And
and how old were you when you first started your like when you first had your very first vinyl?
I was 15 probably, early high school. But up until I was probably 30, I was a pretty passive collector. Like, and when I say that, meaning like when I moved into this house, which you're looking at now, it was about 12, 13 years ago. And I only had about like one of these little sections,
yeah.
just like one, because that was it. But then in the last, like, yeah, 12, 15 years, since I've been, late 20s, 30s is when I've really ramped up. And a lot of that has to do with finances. Like you get to a point as an adult where you're like, oh, I have money to spend for the first time ever. So yeah, I've been collecting for a very long time, but for the first many, many years, it was, a couple records a year because that's all
A-
you could afford. And then you get to a point where it's like you can dedicate more funds to it, you know.
Yeah. Do you
Right.
have
Yeah.
one artist do you have more than some of the than others?
Yeah, probably the Beatles, just because they're the Beatles,
Yeah,
and I've got
that's
a
my
ton of
collection
those.
too.
Yeah, I've got a massive collection. I can turn my camera a little bit, so like this whole section here's the Beatles,
Yeah. Jeez.
and then I've got a ton of box sets and like stuff like that too.
You don't
Other bands, go ahead.
you don't have the Butcher album, do you?
I do not have a cover of the Butcher cover. I've never come across one, which is crazy because
Yeah.
I've dug through a lot of records, but I've never
Do
seen
you
one of
have
those.
do you have the Abbey Rose one?
Oh yeah, I've got many copies of Abbey Road.
Oh man,
Wow.
you're so lucky.
Many years of buying and collecting.
Wow.
And
That's
do you and what genre do you have the most of?
Definitely rock. So that
Rock?
whole wall is rock. That's everything from classic rock, alternative rock, metal, punk, anything that you could classify underneath rock. I've got another shelf below me, which is R&B, soul, country, jazz, and then on the back wall, all this stuff down here. That's all box sets and some soundtracks and stuff like that.
And what is your newest vinyl that you've recently picked up?
Oh, well, it's the Beatles. So I don't know if you can see way back here, but I just picked these up yesterday. These are huge. This is a massive box set. This is called the Beatles in mono, which is
Oh
a
yeah.
very sought after box set. I just picked up this one and the stereo one, which is over there too. I literally just got them yesterday, and I was just listening to one from there for the first time. So that's
Oh,
my
that's cool.
most recent purchase.
That's a really big box, though.
It is. It's a huge box, and it's expensive too.
From a distance, it looks like an Xbox or a PS5.
Yeah, totally. It could be. It's heavy enough to be.
Yeah. So I have another question. So do you have any Michael Jackson records or
Yeah.
or
I got a few Michael Jackson. It's all down below. Let me see what I got here if I can find them. Yeah, so I've got a couple. I don't have a ton of his. I just have my favorites. My favorite Michael Jackson would be Off the Wall. I love the dance, disco type stuff. I love Off the Wall. But of course, I've got Thriller too. This is actually a sealed copy of Thriller from back in the
Nice.
day.
Oh,
And then I've got
cool.
an open copy that I play, and then I've got Bad. Those are the only ones.
Oh,
I
that
have,
is
though.
cool.
that is
Yeah, so
nice, man.
Just got a couple. I don't have any of the newer stuff. I like Dangerous. That's a great album. I just don't own a ton of it.
Do you like buying more of the older, like the original vinyls compared to the repressed ones?
I do both. I mean, I own a record shop, NTX Vinyl, so I deal with a ton of both of those. If it's something to where I can find an original that's in really good condition that'll sound great, I would definitely kind of go in that direction, but that can be hard on some albums. So reissues of newer albums I love as well. It doesn't really, to me, I don't discriminate if I love the music and if it sounds good to my ears, I'll buy it.
And you said you had a record shop?
Yeah. NTX Vinyl is my shop that I started about 3+ years ago, based in the Dallas area.
Is it online too? Do you have an
Absolutely.
online venue?
Yeah,
What's your website?
ntxvinyl.com.
Cool.
Wow, and you say you own the shop, or you own the shop for a couple years now, right?
Yeah, I started about 3 years ago.
Nice. And do you get like a lot? Do you sell a lot of records there?
I do. That's all I sell. I only do vinyl. I get asked all the time if I do CDs or cassettes or any of that stuff. I only do records. That's all that's what I'm most passionate about. So I just spend all my time there versus spreading myself around. So yeah, I get a ton of records in on a daily, weekly basis and sell a ton as well.
And what?
Yeah.
And have you noticed like people buying one artist more than the other?
I mean, your most popular artists that we talked about, the Beatles, Michael Jackson, Pink Floyd, Led Zeppelin, like all the big mainstream names. Like that's when most new collectors are starting to, starting to collect. Like those are the main ones they're looking for, when you're starting your collection. That's a generalization. There's plenty of people who collect niche kind of oddball stuff that isn't so mainstream. But
Yeah.
but generalizing, yeah, those big name artists that you can name off the top of your head, those are the ones that sell the best. That when you put them out on the shelves, you know they're not going to last a day or a week. Like they'll move pretty quickly.
Yeah. And do you also collect 45s?
I do. I don't have a ton of 45s. I've probably got 3 or 4 smaller crates boxes full. I don't do a ton. Mainly, I do like them. They are fun, but you just don't listen to them as
Yeah.
much because it's one song at a time. Flip it over. So, but they're fun to collect, and I
Yeah.
don't sell. I don't sell a lot of them just because kind of the same reason. Like people don't buy them as much as full length LPs. There's very specific collectors who collect only 45s, but the vast
Yeah.
majority of people are looking for full albums.
Yeah. And also,
Right.
if they're scratched up, the whole thing's like basically ruined.
Oh yeah, no, and that's most of the time how you see them when people have 45s from
Yeah.
years past. They'll just be on a spool, or they'll just be in stacks, and they'll just be scratched to hell, and so they're
Yeah.
worthless. Can't play
Yeah,
them.
they
Or
are.
they sound like crap.
Yeah, like some of the record shops I go to, they're just spread like all over the place, like no sleeves, no nothing.
Yeah, no, it's terrible. They're garbage. They're
Yeah.
garbage.
Yeah.
They make good craft projects, but that's about it.
Make
I mean,
it a
because
coffee table.
I can tell
Yeah.
you this, like nowadays it's hard to find vinyls and stuff like anywhere nowadays, like because there's very few places. Like I'm from South Florida, there's barely any like record shops or any like we don't have any antique shops down here that much.
Mhm.
But we have like most people usually have cassettes because I'm from the 90s. I was born in the 90s, so majority of the people that I know have cassette tapes. I grew up in the cassette area and DVDs
Sure.
and CDs and stuff. So I know one guy. He told me he actually lives in Miami and stuff. He sells old record like very first cassette tapes and stuff. And he actually has like 400 to at least 800 cassette tapes, all from every genre, every artist, almost every artist and stuff. And he told me he's the only guy, one of the only few people in the United States to still have a cassette store.
Oh,
And
just
stuff.
dedicated. That's all he sells.
Yeah, all he sells is cassette tapes.
Oh, that's cool.
And stuff. And he's one of the last few people in this country to still have a cassette tape store.
I believe it.
So
That's pretty niche.
yeah, and I bought a couple from him. I have like I only have 2 major ones. I have Prince and Michael Jackson, and those are the only 2 I have. But I don't have
Sure.
any vinyls. I would like to own it. I would like to own some vinyls, but it's hard to get them.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah.
So, but I really like the work you put in all your vinyls all over the years, and the way you collected them and stuff. It must took you years to like get it that big. 3,000. That's a lot.
Many
So,
years of collecting. That is for sure.
And do you
Yeah.
alphabetize them?
Yeah, it's all alphabetized, man. All within genres. So the rock is all alphabetized, and then each genre is alphabetized within that genre.
Wow, you really have them organized.
Oh, you have to, otherwise you can't find something. Like
Yeah.
you're like, oh, I feel like listening to this, but if you can't find it, it's worthless. So as soon as you get above like maybe 100 records or something, you should alphabetize them because otherwise
Yeah.
you're just slowing yourself down. It's already inconvenient as hell to listen to records, so why make it harder on yourself if you can't even find them?
Yeah, and
Do
do
you
you
ever
ever
listen? Sorry to interrupt, but
Go
do
ahead.
you ever listen to any like when you like say if you get home from work and decide to choose any of the vinyls from your collection, do you just sit there and just relax and just mellow out into one of your
Oh,
songs?
all the time, man. I listen to records all day long. Like probably a good day when I'm able to just stay in this room and work. I might spend records for 6-8 hours straight.
That's amazing.
Doing
Wow.
stuff like this, but just constantly having it on. But it just depends. If I'm busy around the house and have to be packaging records or doing inventory or something, I may not put it on because then you got to tend to it. But yeah, if it's something where if I know I'm going to be in one spot in this room for a while, I'll definitely put records on. For sure.
And what type of record player do you have?
It's made by a company called Project. forget the exact brand, but it's kind of like you can barely see it back there, but it's
Yeah.
a clear acrylic project turntable. It's really cool.
That's cool.
I swear, man, you are the most amazing dude.
Yeah, you're cool.
Yeah.
All right. Good
Thank
to
you for
establish that.
coming on our show.
Yes, thanks for coming on.
Absolutely.
It was nice talking to you.
Likewise. You guys take care.
You too.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for watching our interview. Don't forget to check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio podcast, and more every Saturday night at 8. My name is Nick.
And I'm Frederick.
And this has been the Music Podcast. Don't forget to check us out every Saturday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, wherever you get your podcast.